Hello, hello, Paul.
Hello, hello, Elena.
Today we will speak about the next chapter, chapter 6 of the book Think and Grow Rich. And this chapter I like so much. And this is about imagination and its power to create everything we just can think about.
I love the title. I love Imagination, the Workshop of the Mind. This is where you make stuff, you create stuff, and I sound like a broken record, but I love its position in the book. It's the next step.
Yes, this is the next secret of riches. And I like the quote which says that logic can take you from A to B and imagination can take you everywhere,
And anywhere.
anywhere.
But I mean, it's important. I mean, he calls it the workshop mind, and this is where our ideas give shape and form. But I like that we're being introduced to this kind of the playful aspect of growth after we talked about specialized knowledge, where I kind of felt the first time I read this book, and I still feel it. Napoleon Hill is challenging me on how much specialized knowledge do I think I have? Like, like I say, oh yeah, I'm an expert on this. It's almost like he's saying, are you? Are you sure? Are you? Someone have more than you? You know, get your specialized knowledge, and that kind of challenging that I sensed from the previous chapter is kind of necessary to open you up and say, okay, now have fun with it. And all the plans, all the achievements, um, they all begin with imagination. We have to imagine it, which is different than visualizing it, which is different than knowing it. You have to create, and imagination is the most powerful tool available, and it's capable of actually turning our desires into reality. Now, it's effective when it's at this stage of the process, when we've already identified our burning desire and we've established our level of faith and we're in touch with our specialized knowledge. But this is what's important here is we need to understand. We need to understand and utilize our imagination because that's crucial for success.
Yes, definitely. It is very important to understand that we have the tools which are very different from five senses. And when we look at people, they mostly live out of five senses: ability to see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. And today we speak about high mental faculties, one of which is imagination. And it was very strong when we were small, when we were kids. We could dream, we could travel in our imagination everywhere, and we were feeling so good. And when our mothers were calling us for lunch, we didn't want even to go because we were so much involved in imagining and just living that experience, which was in the pictures in our mind, which were created. And later, when we went to school, we were told that we have to think logically, that dreaming, imagining something is just for small kids. And this is how this muscle, which we got from Creator as a gift to create our own experiences and our own desired results, became so weak. So by the time when people become adults, they hardly use imagination. They just so much in different routines and thinking from logic, thinking from head, thinking how they can do it, how is it possible, what are the steps to achieve what they want. And every time when they don't know how they want to achieve that, they just quit because think, no, this is just a dream, it is cannot be reality, I don't know how to get it. And today we will speak about this power tool like a muscle which we can start creating when we understand how powerful it is, and that we were created not to live through five senses. Five senses were given to us to enjoy life. For example, enjoy tasty food, or enjoy touch, or smell, or enjoy beautiful flowers. So they were not given to us to create our reality. high mental faculties such as imagination is one of the tools which were given to us to create our reality.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the two different hemispheres of the brain, and some people are disposed to it, some people aren't. And I really think there's a generational thing. I feel fortunate to be part of the generation. I think you and I are in a similar generation where we did go outside, we did experience playing in the dirt, in the flowers, and exploring on our own and creating our own games and things like that. I kind of feel sorry for kids today because I know a lot of kids that they don't step away from their phone ever. They don't interact with the sun. They don't go play in, they don't play outside. So creativity and imagination, I don't want to say it's stunted, but it's different. It's hard for us to see what they're creating and imagining because with access to so much information at such a young age, they are creating on a different level. So it's fascinating, but it still makes me glad that I was maybe that last generation that where our parents told us go outside, you're messing up the house. Now we have kids who are being told don't go outside, something bad can happen to you, stay inside. And you have to go be creative in another way, maybe through coding on computers and stuff. But uh, this is kind of like a textbook on imagination, I think. And that's not something we studied in school, but there's two forms, right? He talks about synthetic and creative. And I think the distinctions are important. And prior to reading this book, I'd never even been made aware of those concepts.
Yes, let's speak about this more detailedly. What is synthetic imagination? Synthetic imagination is based on something that you already know. For example, chair or bench or armchair. Yes, initially it was bench, then it became chair, then it became armchair. So it is like different modification of what already has been created before, and you just add some items to it. You just make it a little bit different.
Or just combining existing ideas, concepts, or plans into new arrangements. It doesn't create anything new, but I mean, you can get patents in the US for this. It reorganizes existing material. But and it's essential for planning, organizing, and problem solving. I mean, just in a practical sense, this is a practical way to use imagination because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Someone invented the wheel. You can make it rounder, you can make it lighter, you can make it repairable, you can make it mass produced, you can make it there's all kinds of things you can do to the wheel. But synthetic imagination doesn't require you to reinvent the wheel.
Yes, exactly. This is just adding different features to something that already has been invented and designed and created. And this is synthetic imagination. And another kind of imagination is creative imagination. And this is what is very powerful. And I want to read how Napoleon Hill explained this because he said so good in the book that I just want to read from here. That through the faculty of creative imagination, the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. It is the faculty through which conscious and inspirations are received. It is by this faculty that all basic or new ideas are handed over to man. It is through this faculty that through vibrations from the minds of others are received. It is through this faculty that one individual may tune in or communicate with the subconscious minds of other men. The creative imagination works automatically in the manner described in sequence pages. This faculty functions only when the conscious mind is vibrating at an exceeding rapid rate, as for example, when the conscious mind is stimulated through the emotion of a strong desire. So now we get it. why we have to have that strong desire, because the strong desire will activate those different energies. We get to different frequency, and when we are vibrating at that frequency, this is how our creative mind is activated. Creative imagination is activated.
It's not that different from the chapter on autosuggestion, because this is how you communicate with your subconscious. This is how you flex or exercise that, muscle. You don't talk to it. You don't tell it to. It doesn't respond to language or logic or reason or any of that. It explains. I like what you said. Vibrations. When you're making those vibrations, or you're transmitting, you're communicating with that. He calls it the infinite intelligence, and I read that and get all excited. Okay, here's how you connect with the infinite intelligence. I was like, oh, tell me more. I want to know how to connect with the infinite intelligence. It's another way to say your subconscious, because our subconscious is infinite. And I think about, if you've ever gone to like remote places where they're not necessarily plugged into all the media we're plugged in. They don't have access to, unlimited new products at mass produced grocery stores, and so you see how they solve problems, and they're doing it, necessity is the mother of inventions. They invent things that are ingenious because they're using what they had. They're not you're limited to what materials you have, but if you don't have a lighter and you want or a match, you want to start a fire, there's other ways to start a fire. They're not as quick and easy and simple and cheap, but there are ways to do it. And then once you figure out how to do it, figure out easier and easier ways to do it. And I've seen people, survivalists or outdoors people, they can start a fire in a matter of minutes with no matches, no lighter, no anything anywhere. And how useful is to have been in touch with, you can be given a limited amount of supplies, and you have to complete a task. Your life may depend on it. And I think no one has been intentionally connecting with the infinite intelligence or connecting with their subconscious mind, and where autosuggestion tells you how to give it instructions. This creative imagination really gives us a roadmap on how to develop and exercise that muscle.
Yes, and you remember how we spoke at the discussion about desire? And you remember one moment when we told that you don't need to know how. When you just think about desire, you think what you really want, and you don't think about how I will get there. Because now this is the answer to that question, why you don't need to know how. Because when you get at the frequency of your desire, you flip your brain to vibrate differently. And this is how you connect to universal intelligence. That is why you don't need to know how, because it is through imagination and through these high mental faculties which you start to develop them, to practice them, to bring them to use every day. This is how you will get to different ideas, because our brain is the sending and receiving station. It is like radio station, and depending on the frequency which we operate, our brain operates at, it gets access to different channels. You remember in previous episodes we told that if we are listening radio at the frequency of AM, we will only listen the programs which are transmitted at that frequency, at the channel. If you want to listen different programs at, for example, which are transmitted at FM, we have to flip change a frequency, and exactly it happens this case. So when we start getting into different ideas, yes, first we connect to our desire, and everything now gets linked to each other. why we have to read the goal every day, why we have to read auto suggestion every day, because it will help our brain to stay tuned to that idea, and it means to operate at that frequency which is connected to your desire. And this is how our imagination will be activated, because we start thinking from that place as it is possible. So we start thinking, okay, if it is possible, what is my first step? And then you take first step, what is the next step? And this is how you will get different ideas from that infinite intelligence, because as our brain is receiving station, it means that we don't generate thoughts, we can read our intuition and can connect to frequency of other people, to their subconscious mind, and just upload those ideas, or we can connect to universal intelligence and upload those ideas. This is why you never know how you will get that. You can know just in the process, when you make first step, third step. And this is how you start getting this like guidance. You start seeing signs. You just starting be careful and conscious about different things which come, because it will be like different steps which will bring you to your desire fulfilled.
And not in this book, but I'm sure you've heard it. You read a lot of the same books I do. But when you stop focusing on the hopelessness of a problem and you focus on the causes, the answer reveals itself. The answer was already there. You were just on the wrong station. And you're not tuned in to you're not open to, if you're only listening to the station where, oh, I'm doomed, I'm snake bit, I can't succeed, this is the best I can do. When you're stuck on that station, you need the power to change the station. And you can't, the way to change the station, it's not simple like a radio. It comes with time. And Napoleon Hill is showing the reader that you have the power to change the frequency, but it takes work, it takes commitment, and it takes these things in order. It takes a burning desire, it takes faith, it takes auto suggestion, it takes infinite intelligence. I mean, specified knowledge, but the creativity comes after those things. And this is the workshop. This is where you take all of those things that we opened ourselves up to, and you're putting it into making stuff. Um, but developing imagination and synthetic, I don't like to diminish it, because synthetic imagination is good, and sometimes it's sometimes there's a lot of creativity in synthetic imagination, but creative imagination is that next level, and it can only be developed through practice and through use. So the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. So it, just like autosuggestion, deliberate and consistent use of it is the key to unlocking its potential. And you underestimate its potential. You do not even have any clue what your imagination can do. We have limiting beliefs and restrictions that our subconscious mind is placing on us, that we're allowing to happen. There's no limits to what we can do. There's no limits to what we create. There's no, everybody is created the same. They just, different things happen, and different, they use different ways to interact with their world, and sometimes those interactions transform their lives. Napoleon Hill is saying you can get in there and change channels. I mean, in the air right now, every single radio station that exists in the world is in this air that I'm breathing, but I'm not figuring out how to tune into them. And it's not just radio stations, AM and FM. There's TV, there's high definition, there's interactive video, there's code, there's secret spy transmissions coming from outer space. There's all kinds of stuff in the air. All of it's possible to interact with, but more importantly, creative imagination, we can be sending something out to the world. And we, too many of us can't even conceive of that fact.
Yes, and everything what we see in physical world has been created twice. First time it was created in imagination, and then it took physical form. And just think about this, that you receive that power, which energy, a power which comes to you and through you all the time. like we are like electric appliances, which when they are connected to the source electricity, they work. Yeah, fridge produces cold, heater produces heat, and this is exactly how it works with us. We have that power which goes to us and through us all the time. This is what keeps us alive. And by our thoughts, we give this power the form, physical form. Everything what is in physical initially was energy. Yes, energy and ideas, thoughts. And we have been created with this ability to connect to different stations. As Paul said, we connect to different radio programs or TV programs by using different devices such as radio set or TV set. And we also can connect to different channels by using our mind, just to be in connected to our desire to, when we vibrate at the same frequency as desire. And why it is so important to imagine, and this is why we include it to daily practice, to make this your new habit, because by imagining this, you keep your brain tuned to that station. By doing auto suggestion, again you remind yourself and you keep at the station. By reading your goal loud twice a day, again you confirm that statement, and through repetition you impress it into your subconscious mind, so you start accepting this idea as real. And this is exactly what is necessary to happen, because you cannot think something that you want, and your subconscious will tell you, no, you never can do that. Who are you? You never did this. No family member did this. Just do something else. What you know you can do. You will never achieve your goal if it is big. You have to be in alignment. Your conscious and subconscious mind have be in alignment with your body also. We call it practice. Thoughts, feelings, and actions should be in alignment. So, how to make them in alignment? It is exactly through the process which we discover with you and discuss with you in each of the chapters. And this is why Napoleon said that it is so important to implement these practices every day, because what you bring, what efforts you bring, what attitude you bring to the program, this is exactly what outcome you will get. That's why it is so important. I would like to emphasize that you do daily practices which we give you in each lesson, so you can create these new habits which will totally transform the way how you think, how you feel, and how you do. And of course, it will transform your results.
Well, and you know me, I like tactical instructions. I like next steps. I love that, and it's probably why I love this book so much, because he doesn't hide it. He says, "Look, all right, you get it," and everybody says, "I get it, I get it, I get it." But do they? I mean, it takes several times to read this book to start to really get it. But I kind of boiled it down to he gives us four steps. You know, after understanding the two different types of imagination, understanding its importance and what it can do, but you have to define your desire and make it clear in your mind, right? You have to do that. This is a step. You have to use your imagination to create a plan to achieve your desire. Because not all imagination is simply, you know, engineering problem solving. It's sometimes you're creating art. Sometimes you're creating comfort. Sometimes you're wanting to do things the hard way, but you want to gain something from it. But you've got to define your desire. That's one. Number two, you've got to visualize yourself already. No, that you've got to use your imagination to create the plan. Number three, you have to visualize yourself already achieving your goal. And four, you have to persist in your efforts and your imagination guide you towards that success. So, I mean, it's this theme, but it's this building as we're going through the chapters. It's like a snowball getting bigger as it's going downhill, because we're picking things up, but we're picking things up in a very specific order. This was very intentional, I believe, when he wrote this book, and it makes a lot of sense because imagination, like you said in school they'll they oh, this kid's a dreamer, and they'll mark him off as not a serious student. Well, if you've got imagination and you're dreaming up things, but you're not using it to create any kind of plan, or you're not linking it to what you desire, you can't visualize yourself achieving a goal as a result of it, and you have no persistent efforts, all you're doing is dreaming. Great, you are a dreamer. The teacher is right. You're not paying attention. Get back to work. You you have the right. You earn the right to be a dreamer if you follow these steps, and they're not hard, and the results are amazing. And it's a win 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 win. There's no reason not to do these things, because a life as a dreamer that's putting imagination to work is an awesome life. I can tell you that from experience. When I'm creating, and when I'm imagining, and I'm making things for myself better, my level of happiness is a 10 out of 10. When I'm wishing or imagining myself as a famous guitar player on the stage, okay, what good is that if I'm not even willing to take guitar lessons? But that's a dreamer. That's useless imagination. Put it in practice. Go take a guitar lesson. Buy a guitar. Find other people who play music. Learn to do it. That's moving towards a goal. Um, I love it. I love the step by step. I love the step by step aspect of just about anything. But this one's important because this is the workshop. This is where we're actually doing something. I mean, we're right. In the other ones, we wrote things down. We thought about it. We examined or explored internally our own faith and worked on increasing it. But here we're doing something, and that's that's where you can make your imagination tangible. It's not just daydreaming. Imagination is focused and directed mental processes, and fear and doubt are your enemies here. They're the enemy's imagination, and you have to overcome them. Everyone does. I don't care how in touch you are with that frequency. You can never completely eliminate those. So you always have to be strong in your conviction and have a plan. Um, but if you overcome fear and doubt, your imagination can solve problems, but it can generate new ideas, and it can create a better future, at the very least for you, at the very best for a lot of people or everyone. There are inventions that happened that changed the world, that made every single person's life better.
Yes.
And that
Mhm.
started, like you said, as an idea. It was an energy. It was in someone's head. Now everybody does it.
Yes, yes. And also, I would like to speak a little bit about imagination, that it can be used positively and negatively. And unfortunately, when we look at people, how they think and how they live, most of people use imagination, but they use this tool against themselves. What I mean is that when you speak to people and they think about something wrong that is going to happen, they imagine that somebody can get sick or something can go wrong, or what if they fail. Yes, so automatically, because of previous conditioning, as we discussed this, people started to expect that something wrong will happen, because subconsciously they afraid of failure, and we know why. Yes, again, back to school, we know that if we made small mistake, it would be marked with red, and it would be very vivid. Yes, so we were punished for mistakes, and that's why we started being afraid of mistakes. We started to being afraid of failures, and this is automatically conditioned our subconscious mind to expect, what if something gets wrong, what if I fail. Yes, and this is how many people nowadays use imagination against of them, because if they constantly think about what they don't want, this is what will mostly happen, because what we think about we attract. And as we discussed today, that when we think something, our brain operates in certain frequencies. So if we think about fear, doubt, failure, something goes wrong, this is what will make our brain to operate on the low frequency at the same channel as the thoughts we have. So at the channel of where failures, where mistakes and different things happen. And because our thoughts are material, they literally are cause of the frequency which our body produces, it sends to universe. That is why we have to be very conscious about how we use imagination. So we have to use it in a positive way, and how we do this by controlling what we think about. We stop thinking about failures as a bad thing. We can embrace failures and we can see, yeah, failure is the part of the process. What if I fail? It is good because I will learn something. I will be already some steps ahead because I will have experience. I will know what doesn't work. So next time I will do much better. And if I don't quit, continue persistently do what is necessary, I am guaranteed that I win, I will succeed. Yes, so changing this attitude and starting being aware how we use our imaginations to so by stopping thinking about what we don't want and putting all our energy focus and expectations what we want, what good is going to happen. And this is how it will help us to use imagination in the positive way.
I will say this, and I realized this reading this chapter this time. I mean, I'm like you were reading the book again for this setup, but I mentioned our generation and when we grew up, you know, the younger generations think we were feral, like we didn't have any supervision. We would go and play in outside in the woods. My mom didn't know where I was. It wasn't a problem. And if you think about it, things like human trafficking and abductions and kidnapping type stuff was very rare. But a few cases got really sensationalized and publicized. So now parents don't let their kids out of their sight. If the kids are at the park, the mom is right there watching them 100% of the time. So you've got moms and dads almost helicoptering over their children. And guess what? Abductions, human trafficking, kidnapping is way bigger a problem than it was when nobody was even paying attention. Because I think what you're saying is absolutely true. When we're focused on the risk, we attract the harm. When we focus on the reward, the problem reveals itself as not as big of a threat as we thought it was. But since we're focusing on the risk, an abduction, someone, an injury, all of the things that we're so scared of, for some reason, those incidents happen more. That doesn't make logical sense. It makes sense, you know, if you're being extra careful and you're being extra supervisory, there should be fewer abductions and fewer accidents and fewer incidents. But the opposite is true. And the opposite is true. It's because where the focus is. You're focusing on this is dangerous, this is risky. You're transmuting that to your children. They're focusing on the danger, the risk. They're not enjoying this is beautiful, this is amazing, this is fun, this is what freedom feels like, this is what all of the good things that go with the positive. Now, the pendulum can go the other way and have when there's zero supervision, sometimes horrible things happen too. So it's that balance of optimism, pessimism. But just remember that if you're on the pessimistic, if you're too focused on the risks and less interested in the reward, you are going to attract the negative because that's what you're opening yourself up to because that's where your attention and your focus is.
Yes, and when we understand that the feelings are the secret, so the feelings which we are is the language of our subconscious mind, and this is how it operates also with our body, and it causes our actions, and actions causes results. And when we understand that the frequency is so important, our state, that we have to be at the frequency of our goal, we have to think, feel, and act as the person who already achieved there. That is why we have to use our imagination in the right way, because we cannot afford to flip to low frequency, because we know that if we allow to be fearful, for example, if we listen news and we fill our mind with all this negative information, it is so easy to just live in fear every day. I yesterday spoke with one lady who said, so bad things are happening in US now that I'm just thinking about survival, how what I have to do if something wrong happens, that I have everything necessary. So she's constantly in survival mode. And of course, nothing good will happen. People who are in this survival mode, they will just attract exactly what they think about, because we become what we think about. And when we understand, we become controlling. Yes, we have to get in control of our thoughts and understand that feelings comes from the thoughts. So what we are imagining, what we expecting, are we expecting good things to happen? That will be, our feelings will be good, we will be happy, we will expect good things. But if we are expecting something negative, or some disaster, or some bad situations, our energy will be very low. And this is, again, according to the law of attraction, this is all what will be in our channel. Yes, we will flip to different channel that is low energy, and everything bad happening there. So that is why it is so important to get in control of the thoughts at the first place. And I want, for this week, you to focus all on your thoughts. And you remember that we spoke about mental activity and thinking, that it is total different things. Mental activity are those programs which are running on autopilot 24/7, and many people think that they're thinking, although they're not. They're just reacting, again using these five antennas, five senses, and react. And this week, we want you to start controlling your thoughts and really start to think. Become aware of your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Write down negative thoughts, because they are almost the same every day. You have 4 8 thoughts which are the same and which are running on autopilot every day, and that bring your energy down. So this week homework will be to become conscious of your thoughts and write down all negative thoughts, all negative thoughts which cause you negative emotions, because we learned from this lesson that we have to get to the frequency of our desire and start thinking about our desire. It is our life, and start expecting things which will happen to bring us closer to our goal. So you write every negative thought, and then we will tell you next time how to reprogram your subconscious mind, so you will get to the, you will get focused to positive things what you have to think about, and make those negative thoughts weaker and weaker, that they will not control your life anymore.
Worry about organization next time. Right now, it's, Napoleon Hill couldn't be clearer. Embrace your imagination and use it to achieve your goals. But you're right. When someone, I love the phrase, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. And it's a great phrase. But when you focusing on preparing for the worst and you prepare for the worst, you're you start to hope for the worst. You want the vanity. You want to say, "I told you so. I told you." Like, how happy and vindicated were all the hypochondriac germaphobes when the pandemic broke out. Like, I told you, you've got to wash your hands, you've got to stay sterile, you can't be around people, wear a mask, all those things that they were doing before there was a pandemic. It's like they were vindicated. That brought them happiness because there was too much focus on avoiding the risk. I look at tapping into your imagination. You don't even have any idea how powerful your imagination is. But once you find it out, it's like when we were kids reading a comic book and a superhero was born, you wonder, is that superhero going to use this power for good or for evil? And the the big lesson here is that's up to you. You're going to attract what you focus on. Even if you're focusing on something bad happening to protect yourself, there has to be a balance. You're protecting yourself because you want what reward? Focus on the reward because you will lose sight of the reward. And when you do that, your imagination is a superpower that's working against you.
Yes, so this week you focus on imagination. You already wrote letter from your future. Go through that letter again. By this time, I'm sure that you will get some more idea. You will get it clear. Rewrite that letter from your future self to yourself, and connect to what you really want, connect to your desire, and control your thoughts this week to thinking about what you want. Yes, and write down those negative thoughts, negative beliefs which pop up in your mind. Write them down because we want them to get weak. Yes, we want to weaken them and to make our positive thoughts and intention stronger. So it will help us to get to the right frequency and feed those ideas and those images which we have to have in our mind, which will bring us to great, to feel great, to have good state, and to the right frequency and to right channel where everything what we desire exists already.
Yeah, do the work, do the work, do the work. If you and I'm personally very, very interested. I pray that everyone does this exercise because it's powerful. But I'm also praying that everyone shares what they've done because I find when people get in touch with their imagination, I find this to be a very inspirational thing personally. I find it an empowering thing. It reminds me of the the strong, powerful, good things that people can do and the growth that we can all see. So do these exercises, and especially this one, because this is actually expanding on a prior one. Do it and then do it again and make it better. If you ever wrote a report for school, the first draft was not as good as the second draft, which wasn't as good as the third draft. And the more drafts you wrote, the better and better it got. And as you get more information, as you learn more, as you flex that muscle and it becomes stronger, things will be revealed to you that you had within you. You just didn't comprehend them yet. And that's the power of this book, but you have to put it into action.
Yes, and I remember how my mentor, Bob Proctor, always said that when you do this, what we teach you, in by the end of this program, you will need the telescope to see yourself back. This is how much you will change. You will not recognize yourself. You will change so much. You will transform your way of thinking. You transform your habits. You will transform the way you make decisions. So much things will be transformed. And this is all is the process step by step, which we ask you to do every day because we creating new habits. Yes, this is not what we know what will make that transformation happen, but what we do every day, what new habits we implement in our daily practice. And I will tell you that it is not easy. These exercises which we share with you every week, they are very simple. Yes, this is very simple, but it is not easy to do that every day because we are conditioned, and you can see how it is difficult to do, and this is how you understand how much you were conditioned for your everyday actions, because your behavior now is controlled subconsciously, and now you take your thoughts and efforts to redesign your everyday activities, yes, to implement something new. This is
You got to be strong and you got to overcome fear and doubt because you've got to do it. You got to do it. You all know you'll benefit from doing it. I hope you all overcome that fear and doubt because part of your subconscious mind doesn't want you to try new things, doesn't want you to have new successes, doesn't want anything at all to change. If you are going to make an impactful change, you have to do something. Elena, I know you like me. You've recently started and built an active podcast, right? With multiple episodes. I imagine if you were to go back and to look at your first few episodes, that's the you need a magnum a telescope to see the change, just the growth in yourself, just how you set up your environment, how you manage the conversations, how you challenge your guests. All of those things are evolving, which means it's tangible evidence of growth. I want anyone going through this journey with us to be able to go back and watch the very first episode and say, oh, wow, I remember hearing this for the first time. I was skeptical or I was doubtful or I blah, blah, blah. I want you to say, I barely recognize myself.
Yeah.
That's how this book is that powerful. You can see actual physical, visible, mental, obvious evidence of growth. And that's beautiful. And it happens if you're 12, it happens if you're 82. It doesn't matter. You can always, always, always grow. And I'm a firm believer, as soon as you stop growing, you start shrinking and going backwards. So you have to stay forward, keep taking action, but do the work. This book will be the best thing you ever invested in if you do the work. I promise that.
Yes, at this program also, because this program is built with intention to keep you accountable and to give you this information like too easy to digest, because many people read the book and nothing happens, because they don't get it. Again.
And they don't necessarily dislike the book. They give it a
Mhm.
5 stars. They liked it, but they didn't put it into practice. And it's up to you. And the fact that you're sitting here and you've gotten through 7, hour long videos of me and Elena talking about this book means you're doing more than 99.9% of the people that read that book. So, congratulations, but do the work. Do the work. Do the work. That's what's required to really, really have the growth that you couldn't even comprehend 6 weeks ago.
Yes, and another question: when to do the work? Do it now. Yes, if you can do it now, do it.
And do it now and then do it again. Make another draft. Make it better. Make it better. Make so many improvements that you're embarrassed of your first draft because, oh, I didn't really put that much thought or effort into it. Doesn't matter. Do it crappy. If you know you're going to do a bunch of revisions, don't prepare yourself to do it perfect from the get-go. Decisive action is the key to making things happen, and we're making it pretty easy. I mean, we're taking the benefit of our experience, with this particular book, and giving you a roadmap and giving you, you know, I'm assuming this is true for you because it's 100% true for me. We're giving you what we wish we had the first time we read it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you got the homework for this week, and we wish you all the best and see you next week on our next chapter.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.